Okay, y'all. The news is hitting. It's looking like Kamala is coming back, y'all. She coming back from the dead. If you kept hope alive, it's all right. It's gonna work out for us, y'all. I've been worried. I've been nervous. I've been sick ever since November 4th. I have not been able to look at TV. I haven't been making videos. I just had to walk away. Today, for the very first time, I heard on CNN, I heard them discussing what is happening, and it is turning in our favor, guys. They are looking at this shit and they know that it wasn't right. They know that we got cheated. They know that he stole it, and they had laid the trap already. They already laid the trap, and it's coming back. Mr. Gardner, thank you so much. This is amazing. We needed this. We needed this. We need you at this moment and at this time. Glory to God. Mamala, we miss you. Where you at? Come on out here and talk to us.
What's up, y'all? Gerald here, creator of Gospel Chops and your host for this YouTube channel, back with another video. Now, y'all, it seems like the Democrats have gone crazy leading up to this inauguration of the 47th president of the United States. They have come out, y'all, and they are asking Kamala Harris in the 11th hour to do something out of the ordinary to block Donald Trump from being certified by Congress as the next president of the United States. Well, it seems interesting to me that I seem to remember something like this going on in the 2020 election, where Donald Trump said the election was stolen, things wasn't right, and he tried to put pressure upon Mike Pence to say, hey, you are the vice president, don't certify this, send it back to the states for a recount, send it back to the states to recertify. Well, Democrats had a fit back then, had a problem back then, but they seem to be okay with it now, to the point where they are calling for Kamala Harris to block the certification of Donald Trump's election. Yo, you can't make this stuff up. And it's why so many of us average, everyday Americans have so much distrust in the political process, because when it's going your way, you'll vote for it. You'll be with it. You want everything on your team to go your way. But when it's on the other side, in the same set of circumstances, similar circumstances on the other team, well, you all up in arms. Seems to be a problem. Well, it looks like, y'all, in 2024, that the Democrats are calling for Kamala Harris to do the very thing that Donald Trump wanted Mike Pence to do in 2020. He said, send it back to the states, bro. Something ain't right here. Something's funny about these numbers. The math ain't mathing. Send it back to the states to recertify. And they had a fit. I mean, Democrats showed out to the point where Donald Trump just fell back and was like, okay, I concede. I'm not going to say I lost. I'm never going to concede to that extent, but I will give it up and have a peaceful transference of power to Joe Biden. This empty suit, this man who was facing dementia in 2020. Y'all knew it then. Y'all know it now. But here we are, y'all, with a cadre of Democrat voices on social media that are coming out and encouraging, at least trying to encourage, Kamala Harris to not certify the election of 2024. I think it's crazy, but here we are, y'all. In 2025, hey, everything's up for grabs, right? This man ain't even in office yet, and these Democrats showing out. They're not only showing out in Congress, they're not only showing out in local government, they're showing out on social media. And here we are with the blackity black females wedded to the plantation. And that's why you can't find a man to wed, because you wedded to that Democrat plantation. Maybe if you divorce the plantation, you might find a man willing to connect with you and live a life worth living.
Guys, get this. Kamala Harris is actually legally allowed to reject the certification of Donald Trump because of his January 6th insurrection. Legal experts wrote in an op-ed for The Hill that the certification of Trump's election could be legally rejected because of the very little used oath-breaking insurrection clause of the 14th Amendment in the Constitution. They say that the evidence pointing to Trump's role in the January 6th Capitol riot is overwhelming, and Democrats must stop him from taking office by blocking the election certification process. The clause basically states that if you've taken an oath of office before and you engaged in insurrection, then you're disqualified from holding office again. The Supreme Court basically didn't have enough evidence to say that Trump is an insurrectionist, if you will, but Kamala Harris can still legally block the certification process of Trump. And then she will replace Trump as president. The chances of this actually happening are pretty slim due to Democrats' respect for democracy and the democratic process, but it's still fun to have hope.
Look what's happening over there on MSNBC, and look what they're talking about. No, it wasn't a seismic shift, and no, it wasn't a landslide, and no, he doesn't have a mandate. Just to kind of have those waters a little tempered down when, I say when, some people think it's not going to happen, but I think it's going to happen when they finally reveal that he didn't really win, at least not by the traditional means of what we think the beauty contest is supposed to be won by. And that he will not necessarily be taking that oath come January 20th. Found this interesting. It says former Harris advisor says, quote, she will be back. And this is on The Hill. And that Simone Sanders Townsend, a former top advisor to Vice President Harris, said Monday that Harris will be back after her 2024 White House race loss amid speculation about the outgoing vice president's next steps. Quote, I don't think the world has seen the last of Vice President Kamala Harris. I don't know how she will show up again, but she is a young politician who garnered over 75 million votes in this election, and she will be back. I think this is one of the first little granules. I know they're talking about her White House loss. Personally, you know how I feel about that. But I do think Simone Sanders Townsend is doing what I think a lot of people would do to prep people for her eventual re-immersion. I think she thinks she's done, but she's going to come back in some sort of way, whether as governor or something else, maybe in the 2028 cycle. But I personally think she is laying the foundation, just sowing the seeds a little bit for her eventual showing up as she would to do her job on January 6th, to do whatever the administrative part of the certification of the election is going to be, but also to say, I don't think the world has seen the last of her. I don't know how she's going to show up again, because she actually does know how she's going to show up. She's going to show up January 6th for sure. But she's a young politician. The word choice here is so chef's kiss, because we all know that Donald Trump is not necessarily a spring chicken. And then who garnered over 75 million votes in this election, putting that back out there that she didn't just, get 1 or 2 votes. She got 75 million votes, okay? And I just think, it's a little bit of sprinkling that thing like she ain't gone. She's not gone. You may not see her. We all think she's working in the background. But I'm just saying. I think this is one of those moments where people who wanted to talk badly, wanted to say, oh, her campaign was such a failure. Well, you know what? People who were advising her on this campaign is saying she is not done.
So what you're witnessing, y'all, is the Democrat Party, at least the blackity black sector of the Democrat Party, those black women and those black women men who are beholden to the Democrat Party. They are coming into the knowledge of a certain perspective and saying, well, maybe we can use this as a political tactic to stall things out, to delay things, to block things. Well, these are the same things that you didn't want used against you in 2020. How soon we forget. Ain't nobody trying to keep Joe Biden in office. Ain't nobody trying to elect Kamala Harris. You lost. Accept it for what it is and certify this man so that we can get to work and make this country great, because I don't know what your plan was for this country. When I look at your policies that you support, when I look at open border policies, illegal immigrant policies, giving tax dollars over to Ukraine by the hundreds of billions, I don't know what y'all thought you were doing with this country. But whatever it was wrong, and Americans saw right through it. Because you weren't allowed to cheat in 2024, because some of those avenues that were available to you previously were closed off. You found yourself in a losing position because the average American, like you and I, are saying, we ain't for this. We don't want this. We're not voting for this. Well, here we are with the blackity blacks coming out in droves and saying, hey, maybe we can convince and compel Kamala Harris at the last moment to not certify the election. Shows y'all ain't got no education, y'all ain't got no experience, and y'all dipping your toes off in the waters that are too deep for your intellect. I suggest you fall back into that blackity black culture. I suggest you fall back into the hood. I suggest you fall back into your place until you decide that you are going to make a better person of yourself and your culture. Come into the normality of society with the rest of us and say you want to be a contributing citizen to the betterment of America. Hey, we all for it. We're ready for you to come into the family of America, but until you get to that point, I suggest you fall back because you are supporting things that look to the rest of America like foolishness.
So Sherry Jacobus, and I hope I'm saying your last name correctly, political strategist and ex-GOP with a Patreon, by the way, called Politics with Sherry, believes that Vice President Kamala Harris has the ability to not certify the election. Well, Sherry, as a political strategist and somebody who has a Patreon and makes people pay for your political expertise, I've got some news for you. Let me take you back to 2022 when we had a functional Congress that was Democratic-led. When we passed the Omnibus Funding Bill, we included the Electoral Reform Presidential Transition Improvement Act. What that basically did was actually secure our elections so that way we wouldn't have another insurrection and to stop what happened on January 6th. For somebody who's supposed to be well-versed in politics, it seems like you don't know a lot.
Okay, so there's some education that needs to be done. I can see that.
Let me explain the new rules on the regulations. Number one, the vice president explicitly is only there ceremonially. She has no authority to reject or alter the votes. Number two, to object the election votes, you would need support from 1/5 from both chambers of the House and Senate. And number three, governors must certify electors before election day. So back to this tweet real quick, Sherry. There's not a fuck thing that Vice President Kamala Harris is going to do. She's going to show face and then get the fuck on and walk in the sunset with Doug because that's what she deserves. She deserves a good life. Rather than burdening and putting more burdens on a black woman, what white women should have done is got their white sisters in gear in this election and actually vote for their better interests, which was vote for Vice President Kamala Harris.
So if members of Congress who are sitting there wondering if they should affirm electoral college votes for Donald Trump, address this question sort of honestly and intellectually, they could certainly say, I believe this is a matter for Congress and I'm going to exercise my independent judgment. And I'm going to say, I am not permitted by my oath of office to certify electoral votes for an insurrectionist, even though I absolutely acknowledge the Supreme Court dicta, the ruminations, the thought experiment, because that wasn't the issue to be resolved in the case that was decided by the Supreme Court regarding the Colorado court's rulings. These are difficult issues, thorny issues, both legally and ethically. And I think each member of Congress is going to have to make the decision for themselves. What I would like to see, Brian, I would like to see them simply call for a vote on whether they want to vote in favor of removing the disqualification and see if they can get to the 2/3. Here's the thing. Let's just assume, let's play out our own thought experiment. Let's assume that Donald Trump is not certified because enough members of Congress say, I know what the Supreme Court said. And let me back up. I know I'm belaboring this point, But remember, the issue the Supreme Court was supposed to decide is whether Colorado, after ruling Donald Trump as an insurrectionist, whether Colorado can keep his name off a presidential primary ballot. That was the issue to be decided. Not only did they say, no, they can't keep his name off a primary ballot, but we're now going to engage in a thought experiment and issue advisory opinions and dicta to try to resolve an issue that has not been briefed or argued to us. That is the folly of this Supreme Court ruling. So I think against that backdrop, each member of Congress will have to decide if they feel bound by that Supreme Court dicta or they feel bound by their oath of office that says, let's see, I took an oath of allegiance, including to the 14th Amendment, Section 3. Donald Trump is an adjudicated insurrectionist. I think we need to have a vote on whether we can remove the disability. So let's go all the way and assume, I'm not saying this is the way it's going to play out, but let's assume Donald Trump is not certified on January 6th. We both know what will happen. This thing will shoot right up to the Supreme Court. And interestingly, and maybe even ironically, then the issue might be met. Both parties will be asked to brief and argue whether there has to be an act of Congress or whether Congress can resolve this in the way they believe they must resolve it by not violating their oath to the Constitution and declining to vote to certify an insurrectionist and keep him from taking the oath of office.
And there you have it, y'all. Democrat voices, Democrat operatives, Democrat apparatchiks, all coming out in force because they see the writing on the wall. They know what is coming. Yes, that pendulum is swinging the other way that y'all didn't plan for. And all of these Democrat policies that you have put in place under Joe Biden's reign under the last 4 years. Oh, all of this stuff is about to be rolled back. That's why we shouldn't depend on executive orders. It's up to Congress. It's up to the legislative branch of government to pass laws and put things in place. There's a reason why that is so hard to do. Because any president can come in and sign executive orders and put things in place. The next president is going to roll all of that back. And we will all be faced to deal with the swinging pendulum. You see how this works? This is how government works when the legislative branch is ineffective and doesn't function properly. Well, here we have Donald Trump says he's going to get in office, and on the first day, y'all going to experience shock and awe. He going to make you put your penis away. He gonna make some of them men get out them women's bathrooms. He gonna make some of them men get out of women's sports. He gonna make you in certain states across this country stop giving puberty blockers to your children just by the stroke of a pen. Yeah, things are going to swing the other way. And a majority of Americans at this point want them to swing that way. Y'all who support these kinds of policies, y'all weirdos. Don't matter that you blackity blacks. That's why black men don't fool with y'all. Because you got all these black women who are wedded to the plantation out here advocating for certain policies. No. And you got these white men with white guilt who think they owe somebody something for the way their ancestors acted. No, we gonna take it all into account, sir, ma'am, sir, ma'am. The math is math, and we've accounted for all of it. And we're not here for your foolishness in 2025. So you can save it. We don't care about your white sympathy. No. Yeah, we blackity black, and we understand what our ancestors have contributed to this great nation, and we support it. Yeah, we stand under that flag. We salute it. We understand what it means to be an American, black, white, red, yellow, or otherwise. We don't need your sympathy. We don't need your handout. We don't need your hand up. We just need an opportunity to compete on a fair playing field. And we will show up and show out. merit-based. That's what we about. Because we understand that it would do our ancestors a disservice, those who fought with blood, sweat, and tears to contribute to the establishment of this great nation. If we didn't do our best, if we was out here on the street crashing out, if we was out here breaking laws and doing dirt, no, we'd understand that that would be disrespectful to our heritage here in America. That's why those of us who are right thinking, right feeling, attached to America, no, we don't feel that way. And we teach our kids and our offspring not to be feeling that way either. We understand what it is to be an American, black, white, red, green, or otherwise. And when we see these folks coming out calling themselves liberals, these black women mostly, because black men seem to be detaching in 2024 and into 2025, and I'm here for it. These black women who are beholden to the Democrat plantation, we are going to pray for you. We're going to support you. We're going to wish you well. And we're going to sit here and wait for you to come around, because we believe that God is able to do anything, even bring you around from that plantation into your right mind. Y'all, let me know what you think about this. I want to know your thoughts on this topic. This was a touchy one, I'm sure, going into 2025, but I'd love to know what you think about this. Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video so we can get more people involved in the conversation, y'all. And like I always say, always remember, never forget, without the gospel, it's just chops. Until next time, peace.